Chapter 40. The Forces of Good and Evil. The Origin of Good and Evil. Upon forming you, the Father placed you on the first step of the ladder, so that as you traveled that road, you would have the opportunity to truly know and understand your Creator. Yet, few began the journey of ascent from the first step. Most gathered in disobedience and rebellion, making poor use of the gift of freedom and ignoring the dictates of the conscience. Allowed themselves to be dominated by the material in order to create through their vibrations a force, that of evil, and to dig an abyss toward which their influence dragged their brothers. They began a desperate battle between their weaknesses and perversities and their yearning for elevation and purity. Original sin does not come from the union of man and woman. I, the Creator, established that union, telling them both, grow and multiply. That was the first law. The sin was in the abuse that they have made of the gift of free will. The flesh fears the struggle with the spirit and seeks the form to tempt it with pleasures of the world to impede its freedom, or at least to postpone it. See how man carries within him his own tempter. That is why I have said that when he can manage to overcome himself, he will have won the battle. In this time, when even the air, the soil, and the water are poisoned by the evils of men, how few there are who are not contaminated by evil or darkness. The clamor of humanity comes to me, the anguish of children and young people, as well as of men and women of mature age, and the elderly rises up. It is a voice that calls for justice. It is an invocation of peace and mercy that the Spirit makes because the seed of love in this world has been lost. Do you know where that love is? In the depths of the human heart, so far buried that he cannot find it, because hatred, ambitions, science, and vanity have drowned the seed, and there is no spirituality and no mercy. The cup of bitterness continues being filled, and the world drinks it to the dregs. From altar to altar, from rite to rite, from sect to sect, men go in search of the bread of life, without finding it, and faced with disappointment, they become blasphemers who walk aimless roads and live without Elohim and without law. And think, people, among them are the great spirits, for among them I discover the prophets and the disciples of the Holy Spirit. The religions recognize the power of evil and have personified it in human form. They have given it various names and attributed it to a powerful kingdom. Men feel fear when they believe it near, not knowing that the temptation lies in their own passions and weaknesses, nor that inside men both good and evil are active. Evil predominates in the world in this time and has created a strength, a power, that is manifest in all. In the spiritual, too, there are legions of imperfect and troubled spirits inclined to evil and vengeance, whose strength is joined to human evil to create the kingdom of evil. That power rebelled against Yahushua in the second era and showed him its kingdom. My flesh, sensitive to all, was tempted, but my spiritual strength overcame the temptation because I had to be the victor over the world, the flesh, temptation, and death. For I was the master who came among men to give them an example of strength. You can recognize my presence by the peace you feel in your spirit. None but I can give you true peace. A spirit in darkness cannot give it to you. I tell you this because many hearts fear this subterfuge of a tempting spirit that men have given life and form according to their imaginations. How erroneously the existence of the Prince of Darkness has been interpreted. How many have come to believe more in his power than in mine, and how far from truth men travel in this belief. Evil exists. From it all vices and sins have derived. The sinners, or rather, those who practice evil, have always existed on earth, just as in other worlds or dwelling places. Yet, why personify all existing evil in one being? And why do you have him confront the divinity? I ask you, what is an impure being compared to my absolute and infinite power, and what does your sin mean to my perfection? Sin was not born in the world. Upon springing from Yah, some of the spirits remained on the side of good, while others, deviating from that road, created another, that of evil. The words and parables which were given to you in a figurative sense, as revelations in the first times, have been erroneously interpreted by humanity. The intuition that men had about the supernatural was influenced by their imagination, and around the force of evil, sciences, cults, superstitions, and myths were formed that have survived until these times. Demons cannot spring from Yah. They were forged by your mind. The concept you have of that being which you place as my adversary at every step is false. I have taught you to keep vigil and pray to free yourself from evil temptations and influences, which can come from human beings just as from spiritual ones. I have told you to impose the spirit on the flesh, for the latter is a fragile creature who is in danger of stumbling at every step if you do not watch over it. The heart, the mind, and the senses are the open door for the passions of the world that buffet the spirit. If you have imagined the spirits of the darkness as monsters, I see them only as imperfect creatures to whom I offer my hand to rescue them, for they too are my children. Whenever you do good, you say, I am noble, I am generous, I am charitable, that is why I do this. I tell you, if you did these works in the name of the Most High, you would be humble, for the goodness is from Yah, and He has given it to your spirit. Therefore, whosoever attributes his good works to his human heart is denying his own spirit, and he who dressed it in such virtues. In contrast, when you do wrong, you wash your hands like Pilate, and attribute the deed to the Father, saying, It was the will of the Most High. It was written, Yah wished it so, or it is fate. You say that nothing happens without the will of Yah to excuse yourself for your errors. Yet, truly I tell you that you are wrong, for your errors and your pettiness do happen without being the will of the Most High. Do you see how the Omnipotent never imposes himself on you by force through his power? No, that is what you do with your weaker brothers. Truly I tell you, the evil, impurity, and lack of harmony are yours. The love, patience, and serenity are from Yah. When you love, it is the Creator of your spirit who inspires you. But when you hate, it is you yourselves, your weakness that impels you and makes you lost. Whenever something bad happens in your life, you may be sure that it is of your making. Then you ask, why does Yah permit this? Does He not suffer for our sins, weep upon us, seeing us weep? What would it cost Him to save us from these falls? I tell you that while you cannot love, Elohim will be something you cannot understand. Magnanimity of your Creator is beyond your comprehension. Make yourself strong, great, and wise. Learn to love. When you love, you will not have the infantile tendency to analyze Elohim, for you shall then look upon and feel Him, and that will satisfy you. Arrogance and Humility. Make of humility one of your best allies for reaching elevation, for the gates of heaven, which is the kingdom of the conscience, are completely closed to the arrogant. They have never passed those gates and never will be able to, but when the arrogant becomes humble, I shall be the first to praise them, and it shall be my charity that opens to them the gates of eternity. That is one more of my lessons, disciples. Truly I tell you that when you believe yourself to be strong, great, or exalted, you distance yourself from me, for your pride drowns the feeling of humility. But when you consider yourself small, when you recognize that you are atoms in the midst of my creation, then you come closer to me. For in your humility you admire me, love me, and feel me close. It is when you think in all that is great and mysterious that contains Yah, and that you desire to know and understand, that you seem to hear the echo of the divine whisper in your spirit. Disciples, when a man has true understanding of the works he has performed, he does not allow himself to be blinded by vanity. He knows that if the ignoble sentiment enters his being, his intelligence will be clouded, and he will not be able to advance on the path. He will become stagnant and succumb to lethargy. Vanity has caused many men to be lost, toppled many flourishing peoples, and brought down your cultures. While those peoples held work, struggle, and progress as their ideals, they knew abundance, splendor, and well-being. But when pride led them to feel superior, and when their ideal of elevation was exchanged for the insatiable ambition to have everything for themselves, and without wishing to, and without realizing it, they began the step-by-step destruction of all they had built, ending by sinking into the abyss. The historical humanity is full of such occurrences. For that reason, I tell you that it is right that a people of great ideals arise in the world who, while being always conscious of their good works, do not become vain about them, and in this way do not halt in their path, so that the splendor already reached is tomorrow surpassed and continues to grow in the future. Speaking to you in this way, I do not seek to inspire in you only material ambitions. I wish my words to be interpreted justly, so you know to apply them to the spiritual just as to the material. Vanity does not surprise men only in their material lives. As proof of what I tell you, look at the falls and failures of the great religions, rotten at their bases by their vanity, their arrogance, and their false exaltation. When they have believed themselves to be at the height of their powers, someone has come to awaken them from their slumber, making them see their errors, deviations, and their distancing from the law and truth. Only with true knowledge and compliance with my law before the conscience can humanity rise to an elevated life. For the conscience, which is my light, is perfect, is serene, is just, and shall never be vain nor lose its way. The good, the man of good will. Know me, all of you, so that none may deny me. Know me so that your concept of Elohim is founded on truth, and so that you know that where good is manifested, there I am. Good cannot be confused with anything. Good is truth, it is love, it is charity, it is understanding. Good is precise, exact, and determined. Know it so that you do not err. Many may go by a different road, but if all of them meet at one point, which is the good, they will come to identify with each other and unite. It is not thus when they try to deceive themselves, putting a mask of evil over the good and disguising the good as evil, as happens among men in this time. For nearly 2,000 years that you have repeated that phrase which the shepherds of Bethlehem heard, peace on earth to men of good will. But when will you put into practice your good will to make yourselves worthy of peace? Truly I say that you have rather done the opposite. You have lost the right to repeat that phrase. That is why I have come today with new words and lessons, so that it will not be the phrases or prayers that will be engraved in your mind, but the essence of my teaching which will penetrate into your heart and spirit. If you wish to repeat my words just as I come to reveal them, you may do so, but you must keep in mind that as long as you do not feel them, they will have no virtue whatever. Pronounce them with gentleness and humility. Feel them vibrating within your heart, and I will answer you in such a manner that I will make your whole being tremble. I say again, peace to men of good will, those who love truth, because they do something to adhere to the divine will, and those who take refuge in my protection must necessarily feel my presence in their human life, just as in the spirit, and in their struggles, their needs, and their trials. The men of good will are obedient children of the law of their Father. They walk on the straight path, and when they suffer greatly, raise up their spirit to me, demanding peace and forgiveness. They know that many times the pain is necessary, and therefore they drain the dregs with patience. Only when it becomes unbearable do they beg for the weight of their cross to be lightened. Master, they say to me, I know that my spirit needs to purify itself and to suffer. Blessed are those who think and pray in this way, for they seek the example of their master to apply it to the trials of their own lives. Evil, man in the service of evil. In this period of influence of evil is greater than that of good. Therefore, the force which dominates humanity is that of evil, from which are derived selfishness, deceit, lust, pride, pleasure in causing injury, destruction, and all low passions. The illnesses which torment men originate from the mortal imbalance. Men do not have the weapons to fight against those forces. They have been conquered and taken prisoner to the abyss of a life without spiritual light, without true happiness, without aspirations toward good. Now, while man believes himself to be at the peak of wisdom, he does not know that he is in the abyss. I, who know your beginning and your future in eternity, have given mankind weapons to battle against the forces of evil since the first era. But they have rejected them and preferred a battle of evil against evil, in which no one triumphs, for in the end all will be defeated. It is written that evil shall not prevail, which means that at the end of the times it shall be good which triumphs. If you ask me which were the weapons with which I endowed humanity to fight against the forces or influences of evil, I will tell you that they were prayer, perseverance in the law, faith in my word, and love for one another. Evil has grown among men, my people. Kindness, virtue, and love have been weak-faced with the invasion of evil, illness, plagues, pests, and calamities. All that is the foundation of the perverse has contaminated the hearts of the good. It has weakened some and decimated the ranks of the faithful, for evil has brought great strength to bear on humanity. I have allowed that to happen thus due to the free will that I have given you, for behind all the perversity and all the darkness and obfuscation of men, there is a divine light, the conscience, which is not lost and never shall be. There is a principle, which is the Spirit, that keeps immaculate the kiss the Father gave it, which is the divine seal with which I send all my children unto the path of the struggle, and due to that mark, none of those spirits will be lost. The struggle between good and evil. You too have been shocked by the strength of men that men and women have manifested throughout the various periods of your human life. The book of your history has gathered their names. In the album of your existence, in the book where Elohim notes all of your deeds, all your works, there too are their names, and you have been astonished that a spirit, a human heart, can shelter such a strength for evil, and can contain enough strength not to tremble before its own deeds, and can silence the voice of its conscience, so as not to hear the call that Yah makes to all of his children through it. Oh, how many times the journey of those spirits on the planet has been lost and tedious. Those beings who in virtue of their free will have rebelled against my love and justice, I have taken, making use of their own disobedience, to convert them into my servants, and believing themselves to act freely. Each of their thoughts, their words, and their deeds has been an instrument of my justice for themselves as well as for others. But when shall this reign end? The Father tells you, the kingdom of evil has never ruled mankind, for even in the times of greatest perversity there have been those faithful to me, obedient to my teaching, and apostles to my law. But the struggle has existed since the beginning. Which of those two forces has been ahead in the struggle up until now? That of evil. That is why I have had to come to materialize myself among you, to help to revive your hope and faith in me, and to bring warmth to your hearts, saying, you are not alone on the path. I have never lied to you. You must not twist the principles that I have put in you. This is the road of goodness and love. Behold how my light has come to tear away the darkness from your world. It is true that I come to combat men, but only to wipe away all the evil that is stimulated in their hearts. I shall place the light and the strength of my love in those who faithfully follow me. And then these shall say, let us seek the dragon that besets us, the beast that induces us to sin, and defend the Most High. They shall seek it in the seas and in the desert, in the mountains and in the jungles, even among the invisible. But they shall not find it, for it lives in the heart of men, of those who have created it, and there it has grown until it dominates the earth. When the reflections of my sword of light wound the hearts of each man, the strength that proceeds from evil will be weakened unto death. And then you shall say, Master, with the divine strength of your charity I have defeated the dragon, that which I believe beset me from the invisible, never thinking that I carried it within my heart. When wisdom shines in all men, who will dare to twist good to evil? Who would trade the eternal for the passing? None. I tell you truly, because all will be strengthened in the divine wisdom. Sin proceeds from ignorance and weakness. Temptations and seductions. Humanity cultivates many trees. The hunger and misery of men leads them to seek from the shade and fruit that offer salvation, justice, or peace. Those trees are the doctrines of men, inspired many times in hatred, selfishness, ambition, and in delusions of grandeur. Their fruits are death, blood, destruction, and the outrage of that which is most sacred in the life of men, which is the liberty to believe, think, and speak in a word. He is deprived of the freedom of the spirit, such is the darkness that arises to struggle against the light. I have told you, beloved Israel, that the time shall come when the false spokesmen arise to give access to the fake Jesus, and within their materialism they will deceive, saying that through them the Master speaks. False guides, false prophets, and false soldiers shall arise, and with their word and their materialism seek to turn you from the road of light and truth. Pray and see that this is the time in which my justice and my light have removed all the darkness. This is the difficult time, full of dangers, for even the beings that inhabit the darkness shall pass themselves off among you as beings of light to tempt and confuse you. I give you my light so that you do not deviate from the road and are not deceived by those who use my name. The tempters are not only from among the invisible beings. There are also those incarnated in men who speak of lessons that seem like those of the light, but which are in contradiction to my doctrine. To these do not listen. My kingdom is strong and powerful, and if to confront my strength and power I have permitted the rise of another power, that of evil, it is to demonstrate my own, so that you may behold and feel the strength of light and truth against the impostor and the darkness. It is so that you can see that the realm of darkness, disturbances, and trials, while having great power, is only my instrument, and I make use of it truly. If I test you, it is not to stop you on the path of evolution, for I await your arrival in my kingdom. However, I wish you to arrive victorious after the combat, strong after the struggle, full of the light of spiritual experience after the long journey, and full of the merits of the Spirit, so that you may humbly raise your face and behold the Father in the instant when he comes to place upon you his blessing kiss, a kiss that contains all of the happiness and all the perfections for your spirit. Moral crimes. Humanity, crushing against each other. I find you denying your iniquity and boasting of what you believe to be your greatness, even as you conceal your blemishes. I tell you that the man who flattered believes in his own apparent greatness is poor in spirit, and of those who lack virtues whisper of the defects of others, judging their faults, I must say are hypocrites who are very far from justice and truth. Not only those kill who take the life of the body, but also who destroy the heart with deceit. Those who kill the sentiments of the heart, faith, and ideals are assassins of the spirit. And how many of these go freely without prison or chains? Do not be surprised that I speak to you in this way, for I see among you homes destroyed, because while neglecting your duties there, you have created new obligations outside them without considering the pain and abandonment of your own. Look everywhere. How many homes have been destroyed? How many women given in to vice? And how many children without a father? How can tenderness and love exist in those hearts? Would you not judge that he who has caused the death of the happiness of those beings and has destroyed that which is sacred is a criminal? You have become so inured to the evil that even those men who invent new weapons of death you call great, because in an instant they can destroy millions of beings, and yet you call them wise. What is your reasoning? Greatness can only be of the spirit, and only he is wise who travels the path of truth. The impotence and fleetingness of evil. Great, very great, you observe human perversity, and the power of evil practiced by men seems terrible to you. Nevertheless, I say to you that those things are very weak when compared to the power of my justice, and before my divinity, which is master of all destiny, of life, death, and of all creation. Only a being omnipotent like myself could contend with me. However, but do you believe that if an Elohim would emerge from me, would he be against me? Or rather, do you believe that he can emerge from nothing? Not one thing can emerge from nothing. I am all, and I was never born. I am the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega of everything created. Can you conceive that some of these beings created by me can set himself up as Elohim? All creatures have a limit, and in order to be Elohim, it is necessary not to have any limits. He who has harbored those dreams of power and greatness has fallen into the darkness of his own arrogance. Truly, I tell you that there is no power strong enough to oppose my love. My enemies and rival forces are small and weak, and the weapons that have battled against truth and justice have always been fragile. The battle between the forces of evil and divine justice appears to be an everlasting one, but nevertheless, in comparison to eternity, the battle will be like an instant, and the faults committed by your spirit during its time of imperfection will eventually become insignificant stains that will be erased forever by your virtues and my loving justice. The power of forgiveness. Humanity, I ask you, taking these people present here as your representatives, when will you rise up to love one another and forgive each other your offenses? When do you want peace on your planet? The forgiveness that comes from love is taught only by my doctrine, and it contains a powerful force for converting, regenerating, and transforming the evil into good and the sinner into a person of virtue. Learn to forgive, and you will have the principle of peace in your world. If you must forgive 1,000 times, then 1,000 times you must. Do you not realize that an opportune reconciliation avoids draining the dregs of the cup of bitterness? While you are men, remember me on the cross, forgiving, blessing, and healing my executioners, so that you, on your difficult road, may also bless those who have offended you and do all possible good for those who have done evil to you. Who acts in this way shall be my disciple, and truly I tell you, his pain will always be brief, for I will make my strength felt in him in the moments of his trials. Forgive one another, and in this you shall find relief for yourselves and for he who has offended you. Do not carry upon your spirit the weight of hatred or rancor. Be cleansed, and you will have found the secret of peace, and will live as apostles of my truth. My peace be with you.